What's the goal in this fight? Aside from winning, keeping your title, is there any other goals that you have?
Yeah, finish will be good, but we all know that nobody was able to finish Petr. He has some split loss before, and only I think only dominate. He has like all unanimous decision loss against me. Otherwise, he only lost split decisions. You know, so he's good, and I'm just focusing for this fight, get healthy and win this fight. That's all I want. But finish will be sweet.
Umar Nurmagomedov stirred the MMA world when he warned that Petr could find himself drowning if he doesn't manage to shut Merab Dvalishvili down early.
From last fight with Petr, Merab become much better. Last fight with Corey Sanhagen.
His take came from a place of first-hand experience, since he was the one who suffered his first professional setback at the hands of the Georgian champion earlier in the year at UFC 311. With his own comeback set against Mario Bautista at UFC 321, Umar made it clear he hasn't forgotten about the man who beat him, and he believes the bantamweight landscape is becoming even tougher for anyone trying to climb through Merab. What pushed Umar to speak with such confidence was the way he had watched Dvalishvili evolve. He felt the performance against Corey Sandhagen showed a version of Merab who seemed to have leveled up across the board, a man who could maintain relentless pressure from the opening minute to the final bell. In Umar's eyes, Jan might hit hard and finish fights when he finds his windows, but the Russian's defensive tendencies during grappling exchanges remain a major concern. Umar believed that unless Jan somehow shuts Merab down before the grind begins, he could get overwhelmed.
Show it, wrestle all night, and it's a very big trouble for Petr. He don't have good defense, but he have good arms. He can do TKO, but if it's not gonna be TKO, I think Merab gonna maul him.
The focus on Dvalishvili's dominance heading into this rematch had people digging back into his older fights, including his debut in 2017. Back then, he wasn't yet the seemingly unstoppable force we see now. At his first walk into the octagon, which took place in Fresno during a card topped by Cub Swanson and Brian Ortega, he pushed forward with that same trademark urgency but lacked the polish that would later define him. He hit 11 takedowns that night, controlled long stretches of the bout, and yet still walked away with a split decision loss to Frankie Saenz. Even though the numbers leaned in his favor in many areas, Saenz's ability to land the cleaner strikes and slow certain sequences made the difference on the scorecards. Despite winning, Saenz walked out of the cage with a strong feeling that the Georgian rookie was going to be trouble for his division in the future. He had felt Merab's pace, toughness, and refusal to back off despite absorbing some heavy punches. It was clear even at that early point that the man was wired differently, durable, persistent, and difficult to discourage. That loss would become the last time Merab truly stumbled before becoming the monster the division sees today.
My bookie right now has Merab at minus 525 and Jan at plus 310. So huge underdog. Obviously, we've seen this fight before. What does he have to do to make this a different fight and potentially win in your mind?
This is the thing that I made my style off of, is feints, fakes to break timing and rhythm, and angles. Now, if you're at an angle, there's no shot. You can't shoot unless they're in front of you. He always fights on a very straight line. It's forward, back, forward, back. There's very little side to side with him. You got to have a mixture of good takedown defense with the footwork and the lateral movement and angles together. I think Jan's got good wrestling, but the fact that he's on the center line so much, it just makes it easy for Merab to get to the grappling positions. If he's hitting angles and he's moving, it's hard to get a hold of somebody like that. It's just going to come down to the approach of Jan. I think he's got the tools, but also his habits are very center line targeted. And I think that makes another relatively easily grappling style fight for Merab to create if he wants to. Doesn't mean he's going to be able to do it, but the style fits Merab's style.
With Jan now preparing to meet him again on December 6th, he hopes to become only the third man to beat Dvalishvili inside the UFC. Their first encounter in 2023 had been one-sided, with Merab chaining takedown attempts repeatedly and never giving Jan room to set up his striking rhythm. The entire match unfolded in a way that favored the Georgian's style, pressure, pace, and endless wrestling attempts.
What are Petr Yan's keys to victory in order to beat a guy like Merab? Because this is the toughest stylistic match for him in the entire division. But today, I'm going to tell you what I think. Now, the first and most obvious thing, he's got to start fast, right? He cannot allow Merab to set his pace and get his wrestling going. Now, of course, that is much easier said than done, but Jan has got to get going early. He's got to let the hands go because he's got to trust in his takedown defense. In that first fight, yes, Merab did get some takedowns. However, Merab generally does not control opponents over an extended period of time. Sean O'Malley was kind of the exception to that one. So if you know that you're going to be able to get back up to your feet, then you need to be able to trust in your hands and in your kicks a lot more because you know that Merab's not going to be able to hold you down. Secondly, I would like to see Petr Yan rip the body. A lot of fighters do not like to rip the body against someone like Merab, where he's got endless cardio, and I think the way to slow him down is by going to the body. And also, that will deter Merab from changing levels to shoot for takedowns. And lastly, I'd like to see Petr Yan shoot some takedowns of his own. He is a very good wrestler whenever he chooses to use it. If he's able to take Merab down, it will definitely be able to slow down the pace of the fight, maintain some top control, and potentially even bank some rounds off it. Here's the thing about this fight. In my opinion, Petr Yan is more skilled than Merab. I don't think that that's a crazy thing to say. However, Merab's constant pace and pressure, just throwing wild stuff, shooting tons of takedowns, constantly keeps Petr Yan guessing and makes it impossible for him to know what's coming at him. It's not that he doesn't have the skill to win, it's that he doesn't have the correct pacing in order to win a fight like this.
Other fighters had been giving their breakdowns too, each from a different angle. Ayman Zahabi took interest in something Jan mentioned a while back. He had apparently entered their first fight with a compromised right hand and barely threw it. Zahabi admitted that he hadn't realized it until Jan pointed it out, and it made him reconsider how different things could look if Jan comes in fully armed this time. He also noted something tactical. It's far easier for a wrestler to get deep into the hips of a tall, long fighter like Corey Sandhagen than someone with Jan's shorter, more compact frame. That difference could change how frequently Merab is able to shoot clean entries during the rematch. Even so, Zahabi felt that although Jan may come with adjustments and improved weapons ready, Merab's momentum in recent years made him an incredibly difficult puzzle to crack.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting when Petr Yan mentioned that if you look back at the fight, he didn't use his right hand, and I hadn't noticed until he mentioned it. So we might see a completely different fight. We may, who knows? But I really love that matchup. I think it's going to be an action-packed fight. I think it's going to be hard for Merab to cycle through the takedowns the way he did with Corey Sandhagen against Petr Yan, and I'm only saying that based on the fact that Petr Yan is a little bit shorter, and it's going to be harder for him to get in those hips at the same, frequency as he did with someone who's much taller. So it's going to be it's easier to get in on taller guys, and I think with Petr Yan it might be a little bit harder. And if he was right and his hand was compromised the first time, he might have a surprise for Merab. But I really think Merab is he's been on fire, and he's going to be hard to beat for anybody. And I can't wait to watch that fight.
Ethan Ewing's perspective leaned heavily toward Merab as well. He described the champion as someone whose intensity seemed almost unhinged, an athlete who competes as though he has no internal brakes and no fear of exhaustion. Ewing expected that most fighters in the division would have a hard time neutralizing the combination of Merab's conditioning and wrestling depth. While he acknowledged Jan's high-level boxing, smart movement, and overall well-rounded skill set, he believed the real key would be whether Jan could consistently shut down the grappling in a way that Corey Sandhagen managed at times. Sandhagen had moments of success defensively, but he lacked the finishing instincts to capitalize when the fight returned to striking range. Ewing wondered whether Jan could seize those moments better, but even with that possibility, he still felt Merab hadn't been solved yet by anyone.
I don't know if anybody has the answer for Merab yet. I'll be totally honest. His kind of unhinged and unbridled just ability to fully get after it and have a crazy gas tank, his wrestling abilities, he just poses such a threat that it would be very difficult for many people to shut that down. Now, I know Petr Yan is a very talented fighter. He's got some of the dopest striking and boxing in the UFC. He has a fantastic ground game as well, so we'll see. We'll see where his preparation is. If he can shut down the grappling, then sky's the limit. I think Corey Sandhagen did a really good job of that. He just wasn't able to recapitalize when he was on the feet. So it's always hard. You always kind of get excited that somebody may be able to take the crown, but I don't think anybody has figured out Merab quite yet.
Someone who has felt the power and pressure of both men inside the cage is Sean O'Malley. Having fought Jan in the striking heavy battle that pushed him toward the title shot and then losing that very championship to Merab before falling again in their rematch, he understood better than most how different their styles truly are. One detail O'Malley pointed out was how much the cage size had influenced their first fight. In the smaller space used at the theater at Virgin Hotels, fighters have less room to circle and escape, which heavily favors aggressive wrestlers like Merab. The rematch, however, will be in the standard large octagon, and O'Malley felt that this alone changes the feel of the fight entirely. With more space to maneuver, Jan may be able to create gaps and reset situations that previously collapsed too quickly. He still believed Merab is a nightmare to deal with, but he couldn't ignore how structural differences like cage size can alter outcomes.
It's a tricky one, because Jan, the thing is with Sandhagen and you is that you're movers. You move about, you're shifting, you're hard to get shots off on. Once the shots are in, you know, Merab's likely going to get those shots off. But with Petr Yan, he's so there. He's kind of a bit more stationary, high and tight guard. So he's there to get on the hips off, which is why you saw Merab shoot fucking 50 takedowns in 25 minutes on him. Get 11 of them, but it doesn't matter because you spend half the fight defending takedowns that don't even work. It's a tricky test. One thing I will say about the Jan Merab fight, though, both guys were injured going into it. I challenge people to go back and watch Jan versus Merab 1 and count how many times Jan throws his right hand in that fight. It's minimal. It's very minimal. Yeah, he keeps that close to him. He barely lets go of it. So I'm wondering if there's some kind of injury going on here. So that could be a little spin of a narrative. I reckon it'll be a closer fight, but it's hard to doubt Merab at this point, dude. He's paving his way onwards.
Who do you think's improved most since their last fight?
Oh my,
right?
dude, that's a good question because Petr has improved a ton since that last fight. I mean, he went out there. I think he beat Figueiredo. He beat Song Yadong. Did he just have those two fights?
And then he just beat Marcus. Yeah.
Oh, and Marcus McGee. Yeah. Petr has looked really good. Definitely looks like he's improved. Merab has improved, I would say, more than anybody. After that first fight with me, I feel like him going to that Umar fight, he leveled up a ton. And then after the Umar fight, like the second time I fought him, I feel like from the first time I fought him to the second time I fought him, it was only 8 months. I regret having surgery and fighting a machine like that after fucking 8 months. It was probably not one of the smartest moves I've done, especially against a fucking machine like Merab. Way more confident in his hands, and his hands have improved a lot. He actually cracked me a few times in that second fight. It's just so hard to fight someone when you have to respect their wrestling so much, and then they start fucking throwing hands. He's doing a really good job at mixing it up. Could that be the downfall for him versus Petr? He gets a little bit confident in those hands. Peter's counters, I rewatched me versus Petr a couple days ago, jogging on the old treadmill, and his fucking counters, and a couple times I'd sit in there with a 1-2, and he would counter so fucking hard and fast. And I mean, if Merab does decide, hey, I do want to trade with him a little bit, like that could be his downfall. But also imagine Merab goes out there and knocks out Petr.
If Merab knocks out Petr, there's just... I gotta get it back.
I gotta get it back.
Jamahal Hill also weighed in, admitting openly that he's biased because he personally likes Merab a lot as a human being. Even with that bias, he insisted that Merab's recent run puts him in a unique category among current champions. In Hill's view, only a few title holders in the UFC appear to be operating at levels far above their contenders, and Merab is one of those rare cases. He compared him to fighters like Alexandre Pantoja and Ilia Topuria, athletes who seem to have widened the gap between themselves and the rest of their divisions. Hill felt Merab belonged right in that elite group.
Yeah, I'm going with Merab, bro. Merab is just operating on a different level right now. The one out of everybody, out of all the champions right now that are just operating at a different level above their weight classes, I'd have to say Merab has probably got the biggest gap between him and his competition. I don't know. I'd say it's a tie between him, Pantoja, and Topuria. When Georgian boys came up and caught on, boy. I like Georgia. I need to go there. I'm gonna take a trip out there. I'm gonna pull up the guys.
Carter's Prates offered a simpler but confident take. He admitted he doesn't watch every fight closely, but he knows Merab is built on an engine that doesn't slow down. In his eyes, that bottomless gas tank alone puts the Georgian in a position to take the win again.
Bro, I think Merab, I don't watch too much, but I know he have a lot of cardio. And I think Merab is gonna win.
Valter Walker shared a similar view, saying the rematch is interesting, but that Merab appears to be in a phase where few fighters can match him. Walker even imagined how compelling a future fight between Merab and a champion like Pantoja could be. The idea of two relentless competitors from different divisions colliding being something he personally would love to see one day.
Yeah, this fight's good, but I think Merab gonna win again. Merab right now, on his level, I don't see nobody who gonna win him. For me, interesting if he fight with Pantoja, you know? Pantoja, the champion. I think it's gonna be interesting fight. I would like to watch Pantoja versus Merab. It's one fight like...
What ties all these viewpoints together is the picture of a division where Merab Dvalishvili stands as a near immovable object. Someone whose story began with a rocky UFC debut, but transformed into a streak of dominance built on pressure, cardio, and an unyielding style. At the same time, Petr Yan isn't entering this rematch as the same fighter he was before. The Russian has always been known for his sharp, technical striking, clean counters, and ability to adjust within fights, and the talk around his previous hand injury adds another layer of intrigue. If that injury truly held him back the first time, then fans may be watching a completely different version of Yan when the cage door closes again. The fight taking place in the larger cage only adds more questions. Will the additional space give Yan the opportunity to create angles and force Merab to work even harder for each takedown? Will Merab's aggressiveness still land as effectively when Yan has more room to drift away from the fence? Will Yan's hands, and especially the right one, come into play the way they usually do when he's healthy? Merab, on the other hand, seems to have built his identity around being the man no one else can out-hustle. His pace has broken fighters before they even realized their energy was gone. His wrestling can overwhelm both long and short-armed opponents, though the approach changes based on body type. His evolution since his early loss to Saiyans shows how much he's learned from setbacks and how that experience forged the powerhouse we see now.
He's from Russia, I'm from Georgia. Every time we have a competition against Russians, we have to win.
4 fights within the calendar year. I'm a little salty because you're about to break this record.
I want to fight in March. I hope I will get this White House fight.
What is it about Umar Nurmagomedov that you don't like?
What kind of man you are when somebody tweeting for you? He called me fake champion and I'm done with him. Next question, please.
When are you going to go up weight division?
Merab Dvalishvili.
Perfect. Come on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
This rematch has stirred genuine excitement not only because of the stakes, the bantamweight belt, but because so many different layers surround it. There's the question of Yan's injury, Umar's warning, Zahabi's technical breakdown, Ewing's belief in Merab's unbreakable rhythm, O'Malley's awareness of cage dynamics, and the general consensus from others who see Merab as nearly untouchable. Yet MMA rarely follows a predictable script. Yan has shocked people before. Merab has been pushed before. Champions rise, contenders evolve, and fights unfold based on tiny details that sometimes only matter for a split second. Still, as December 6th approaches, one truth remains. Nearly everyone who understands the sport agrees that beating Merab right now demands something special. Yan believes he has it. Merab believes no one does, and the only place where the real answer can come is inside that larger octagon where both men will finally settle the questions surrounding them.